Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow and I am back with an all new video. Today's topic is a deep dive behind the veil energy read into Hollywood nepotism. So we are going to be exploring what nepotism is and how it may or may not work in Hollywood and how it may or may not, in fact, be the way one would think it is. This and so much more. So if this sounds good to you, please stick around, and if not, I will catch you in another video. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to take a moment and introduce myself in case you are new here. My name is Faye, and I am an energy reader, a medium, a channeler, a remote viewer, an intuitive, all of these great metaphysical concepts. What does that mean for you? It means that my specialty is seeing behind the so-called three-dimensional veil and exploring what is the soul, spiritual, energetic, or vibrational elements that comprise the world that we see around us. So if this sounds like it's your kind of vibe, I invite you to subscribe. And if you find at any point that you are enjoying this video, please click the like button because it really does help my channel grow. And then in turn, I can continue to look into these cool concepts and share my findings with you. Now, with that in mind, let's dive in. So before we get into the Hollywood component of what nepotism is, let's first explore what the concept of nepotism as a whole is. So nepotism is the practice of favoring relatives, especially when it comes to jobs. So for example, we might see this where there's a law firm and one of the partners of the law firm, when his own son graduates law school, of course his son is going to be part of the law firm. And then of course his son is going to receive favoritism when it comes to picking a new partner. So let's say, I don't know, I'm going to make up a name. Let's say the law firm is Schmidt and Robertson. So Mr. Schmidt's son becomes a lawyer. So then at some future point, the law firm's name will become Schmidt, Schmidt, and Robertson, because Schmidt's son now has become a partner. So the name of the law firm will change to reflect the fact that there's a new partner. And even if Schmidt's son is a newer attorney, he's going to get some sort of favoritism in becoming a partner of the law firm, perhaps even over some of the more established attorneys that are there. So this is just like a basic way in which nepotism may work out in the world. You got a kid, maybe it's not your direct descendant, but maybe you got a nephew, right? Maybe it's like your brother's kid. They're looking for a job. It's in an industry similar to the one that you are in. You're going to bring them into the family business and into the fold, perhaps above other candidates. So here's the question. Is it so far-fetched to believe then that this concept of Hollywood nepotism plays out in the Hollywood industry? Because there are a very great number of celebrities that are second and third generation whose either parents or grandparents worked in the industry, either as actors or actresses or screenwriters, or were somehow affiliated with Hollywood. So I have a list of names, and I really acquired this doing like a 30-second search on Google. And some of the names you're going to recognize because they're very, very well known, and they're well known not just because of the last name, but because of the fact that everyone knows who this person is. So I'm going to give you an example. Angelina Jolie. She has a very, very famous father in the industry. So I'm not going to necessarily, when I'm reciting all of the names that I wrote down, call out who the parent is, because if you know, you know. But also, here's the thing. Ostensibly, if you have YouTube access and you're watching this video, it means you have Wi-Fi access, and you can look up who these people's parents are if you so feel called to. For brevity's sake, I didn't write down who every person's famous and notable parent or grandparent is, because we would be here for a very, very long time and we would cover literally no ground that has to do with the actual nepotism. So I have a list of names. Again, some of them are well known, some of them are famous, others maybe a little bit more obscure, but again, 30-second internet search revealed all of these names to me. If you so feel called to do the research in your own time, a 30-second YouTube, Google search will reveal the same for you. So here we go. 30-second Google search of names of either second or third generation actors and or musicians. I didn't do a separate search for musicians. I just kind of actually did like the names that I knew off the top of my head, which you'll see in a moment. This is just getting to be way too long. Let's just go to the names already. All right, here we go. No one's here, to the best of my knowledge, to hear me parrot names that are written on the internet. If you are here for that, let me know. I'll send you like a $5 like Starbucks gift card or something. I don't know. Here we go. Robert Downey Jr., Zoe Kravitz, Charlie Sheen, Kate Hudson, Lily Collins, Christian Slater, Beau Bridges, Dakota Johnson, Emma Roberts, Gwyneth Paltrow, Laura Dern, Anya Taylor-Joy, Maud Apatow, Mamie Gummer, Miley Cyrus, Alexander Skarsgård, Angelica Houston, Ben Stiller, Bridget Fonda, Candice Bergen, Carrie Fisher, Chris Pine, Emilio Estevez, Isabella Rossellini, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jason Patrick, there's more, Jennifer Aniston, Colin Hanks, Jaden Smith, Blake Lively, any of the Baldwins, and there's a lot of them, Jennifer Grey, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Jolie Richardson, Kim Fields, Liza Minnelli, Lynn Redgrave, Margot Qualley, Mariska Hargitay, Martha Plimpton, Melanie Griffith, Mia Farrow, there's more. Michael Douglas, Mira Sorvino, Natasha Kinski, Peter Fonda, Rashida Jones, Rob Reiner, Rumer Willis, Sean Astin, there's more. Vanessa Redgrave, Zoe Deitch, Timothy Hutton, Timothy Chalamet, John Ritter, Drew Barrymore, Josh Brolin, Maggie and Jake Gyllenhaal, and yes, Angelina Jolie. There's names that even now I'm starting to think about that I know are actresses and their parents are musicians. I can't think of her name right now for the life of me. If I remember, I'll put it down as a comment down below. But again, I was actually just going off of the names that I recognized. And by my own admission, I am really not enmeshed any longer in pop culture. So it's entirely conceivable. There's a whole new set of names that I don't even know, that I didn't even recognize, that are on this list, that kind of like, you know, slipped into the industry in the last 5 years or so when I've been completely out of it. So if you know of other people, or if you can think of other names, comment down below and let me know, because again, there's a lot that I probably left out. So now looking at this list of, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 names here, is the concept of there being Hollywood nepotism so far-fetched? No. So let's see if the way in which we would think about it to work is the way that it actually works. So here we go. What was shown to me is that Hollywood nepotism is in fact a real thing, but not the way we would think of nepotism. So again, what is nepotism? It is the practice of favoring relatives, especially when it comes to jobs. Okay, so let's say, I'm gonna take, for example, Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller, I can't remember names. I can't remember his father's name, but his father is I think his father like appeared on Seinfeld. His father is like an old-time actor in Hollywood. So is it conceivable that an old-time actor in Hollywood has some sort of a pull or some sort of a sway over casting agents or people that are making movies, and he's like, hey, yo, my son's getting into the industry, let's pull some strings, get him in. Is it possible? Yeah, sure. Is that what was shown to me? No. So another example of that, because Timothy Chalamet has been accused of being a Nepo baby. His parents were like, I don't know what. in the industry, and then he suddenly has this whole career where he's appeared in Dune movies and a bunch of other ones. So Timothée Chalamet, has been accused of being a nepo baby. Okay, his parents were somebodies at some point in the industry. They pulled some strings, they got their son a movie role. Is that the way it in fact works? No. Here's why. Hollywood, as I have discussed extensively in other videos, and I in fact will link some of those videos down below, even if I don't call them out. But if you want to come to learn more of the way the industry truly works, I have linked some previous videos of mine down below. But Hollywood, as it has been shown to me, is a ruthless and cutthroat business. And they care for no one where they would ever even do that. So look at it this way. If, let's say, Kate Hudson had gone to a casting call, the casting agent may or may not in fact say this to her, but they would certainly think it. Oh, this is Kate Hudson. Her mother is Goldie Hawn. Okay. Eye roll. Okay, sweetheart, your mom was a somebody decades ago. So we have no use for you just because of the fact, handing out the truth. I can't script this, guys. I can't suddenly lose my voice at like an integral part of the video. Like I'm not that skilled. I'm gifted in certain ways. I'm not gifted in like manipulating my vocal cords to start to go hoarse at a particular point where I have to ahem to clear my throat. Because what do I always say? I ahem at the truth. Your body has a resonance in it when you speak the truth or when you hear the truth, it just resonates with you. So every single time I speak the truth about something, my body is literally like, girl, you need to drive the point home. And my body is like, I need a ahem to clear my voice so I can speak the truth more clearly to you. Can't make this shit up. So they would kind of look at it like, okay, your mom was a somebody decades ago. And therefore, who are you to us? Why the fuck do we care that your mom was a somebody? She's not a somebody anymore. She's in fact a fucking nobody. You're just like the spawn of a fucking nobody. There is no loyalty in Hollywood to second and third generation children. Because it is, again, I remind you, a cutthroat industry. They have loyalty to no one, least of all some has-been's kid. So now that we're identifying that, and we're saying they got loyalty to nobody, let alone some has-been's kid through their lens and through their scope. How then can we explain the list of all of these names of second and third generation actors and actresses and even some musicians? So how does Hollywood nepotism really work? Maybe you could have guessed this by now. It's by club affiliation. Now don't worry, because I've been getting a lot of questions lately about what the club is. And I'm going to do a separate video in the next couple of weeks, I would say, on what the club actually is. It's going to be a comprehensive overview of the club. And not just the one club, because there'll be many clubs. One such club is the Hollywood Club. That's the club we're going to be talking about right now. Because how does Hollywood nepotism really work? By club affiliation, i.e. the Hollywood Club. So the question is, are you in the club? Are your parents in the club? Are your grandparents in the club? And how high up are you and your family in the club? So, for example, Blake Lively, pretty as she is, would not have the career she has, nor all of her side projects, which there are many, I don't even remember what I heard. She has like a liquor company and like a this company and like a that company. Like, she's been rather industrious for a woman that has, you know, a career in Hollywood, has 4 kids, has a husband with a roving eye, because yes, I've looked into them as well. She's been rather industrious with her time, all things considered. So, if not for her being in the club, she would not be as industrious as she is. So maybe when we see her through that lens, we can understand the attitude and level of arrogance and entitlement that is now starting to be revealed about her. She showed some sort of aptitude for acting and was guaranteed a career because club. So maybe this will also further explain why there are some so-so actors and comedians a la Pete Davidson, who always, every time I look at him, he looks like he has just come off of like a 3-day bender. Hasn't slept, has done copious amounts of drugs and alcohol. You don't do alcohol, you drink alcohol, but you get the gist. And probably hasn't even slept at all. Right? And like, look at Angelina Jolie before she became like an A-list celebrity. When she was like with a Billy Bob Thornton, for example, she always looked like she just kind of like rolled out of bed, like brushed her teeth, didn't even bother brushing her hair, didn't even wash her face, like picked up some clothing she had worn days ago that was like on her floor or flung over her chair, put it on, and then she would just show up at like a red carpet premiere. She didn't really look put together. Maybe this can explain why she made 0 effort. Because first of all, it's like, girl, you already got your career. We got you, don't worry. Just do what we tell you to do and you'll be okay. This is also going to explain why you can see a very, very big delineation in the way a celebrity, when they're first kind of like coming into the industry, and the way there's this evolution of their image progresses and changes over time. Because it's like, what kind of story do they want to tell with a particular person? Do they want this person to have some sort of a glow up in their representation, or do they want them to have some sort of a devolution? So Angelina Jolie, when she first, kind of hit the industry, again, she always looked like she just rolled out of bed and threw anything on. And then she kind of became like this glamour puss, right? So this is to kind of capture the attention and the consciousness of the people that like the fact that she was kind of rough and tumble. They like the fact that she didn't look like a Hollywood typical like starlet. And then they see how she starts to evolve, and they feel like they already know her, and they feel like they're really invested in her. But then you can have a case of somebody like a Megan Fox. She was like, this sex pot. And then we've kind of seen, she had kids when she was young, then she got divorced, and she hooked up with Machine Gun Kelly, and now she's talking about how she too is drinking, she has a vial of Machine Gun Kelly's blood, and they drink each other's blood, just like Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton did. So we're kind of seeing the representation of people as they change over time. Again, it's because when people first hit the industry, and then we can start to see how they're either evolving or devolving, we feel like we know them, we're invested in them. So we will abdicate large portions of, and I used to do this too. I had a subscription to Us Weekly for well over a decade. I would say probably even 15 years. I was all about the celebrity gossip when I was, fully enmeshed in the 3D, and I was really, really asleep. So I also felt invested. It was like, so like, wow, like Angelina Jolie, like she adopted a son, and now she's with Brad Pitt, and they're having all of these babies. It's like, wow, like she seems like she's really grown, and she's come into her own. It's a script that's written for them. It's not real. It's to capture our attention so we're invested in the lives of these people, and we follow their career, and we see their movies, and we talk to our friends about them. It's not real. Just like they're cast to play roles in a movie, they're actually cast, or rather inserted, through this so-called idea of Hollywood nepotism, which has nothing to do, in fact, with the idea that it's like, oh, you're Goldie Hawn's daughter? Okay, who cares? They're inserted into these roles to play certain characters on the world stage to capture our attention. That's all it is. That was a long aside. We started with like Pete Davidson, and then we ended up like in this whole other area. Welcome to the mind of Faye when I go off literal script. So many thoughts in my mind at any given time. All right, stay on task, Faye. So again, maybe this will explain why there are some so-so actors and comedians, like we started with Pete Davidson, right? In the industry, and some people that just cannot seem to catch a break. And one such person that I have spoken extensively about in the past is my forever dreamboat, Henry Cavill. There are articles written about Henry Cavill. And if I have any viewers, this is like a real aside, if I have any viewers that look like Henry Cavill, email me. Let's talk. I'm kidding. Not really. But there are actually articles written about him where he was considered to be the unluckiest actor in Hollywood. Here's why. The role of Edward from Twilight, when the script was being written, when it was being taken from a book and a script was written to make it a movie, Stephanie Meyers had shared, the author of Twilight, that when she was writing the character Edward, who was she thinking about in her mind? Henry Cavill. So she wanted Henry Cavill to play the role of Edward. Then when the movies were being produced, Henry Cavill was deemed to be too old to play Edward, even though at the time that Robert Pattinson was cast, Henry Cavill was just 1 year older than Robert Pattinson. Notable, one could say. Now, a little bit later on, when the next actor that was going to be playing James Bond was being cast, Henry Cavill was said to be too young. So he was too old to play Edward. He was too young to play James Bond, even though he was years older at that point. So he was passed over for that role. Now, here's an interesting thing about all the actors that play James Bond. They have to be British. And Henry Cavill is passed over for the role. It took him years of auditioning and getting passed over and auditioning and getting passed over and maybe getting his foot in the door here, getting a bit role here, a bit role there. It took him decades to actually break into the industry and to get to where he is. Why would that be? Because A, he's not in fact a Nepo baby, right? But in the way that Hollywood Nepo babies work, which is not part of the club. But even if one is not part of the club, they can still join the club a little bit later on. And I will touch on this a little bit later on as well. I'm trying to stay, on script as much as I can. So if you're curious, how do some actors actually break into the industry if they are not part of the club? Don't worry, I gotcha. We're gonna talk about that in a few minutes. I have also linked a video down below in which I have explored this in a very insightful conversation that I had energetically with Ashton Kutcher, which I will again touch upon later. Oh, look, I'm so consistent, I'm actually getting to that part right now. This is not to say that everyone in the industry is in the club, because they aren't. I know I'm a shit show over here this morning, guys. It happens. It's real life over here. First of all, it's too fucking early in the morning. Welcome to my life. I'm like an afternoon person. I'm not a morning person. I'm recording this like well before I'm like my prime. So if you're wondering like, what is Faye like when she's not at her prime? Hi, hello, here. It's this video, it's happening now. And no, I'm not gonna edit it because I simply just don't have time. Real life over here. So this is, again, not to say that everyone in the industry is in the club, because they aren't. The Hollywood industry does keep some people around for diversification purposes and to act as a front. And what is a front? There is nothing untoward happening here. All there is to see is we are an industry that makes movies. We have investors. Our investors make money. The agents represent people. The managers get deals for people. That's it. This is an industry where people act, movies are made, nothing else. There's no spellcasting that's going on. There's no actors being inhabited by entities so they can flesh out these magnificent acting performances. There's none of that going on here. There's no spirit cooking. There's no witches' covens. We just represent some people. We make some films. There's no reveals that are going on. We're not telling you that people actually have these magnificent abilities. They just don't know it because the way we're presenting it is if it's fictitious. So, it's very much the same way with the Freemasons. Because not all Freemasons know the dark things that their brothers can be involved with. This is why, if you are like me, you may have actually stumbled onto a video or two on YouTube where I have actually seen people saying, I'm a Mason of the 33rd level. I have never seen anything untoward happen with the Freemasons. Nothing that you guys are speculating on these conspiracy theorist videos. There's nothing going on. They're not involved in false flags, y'all. I'm a 33rd level Freemason. So if you will, this is the word that's just falling into my head right now. The 33rd level Freemasons that act as a front, they're useful idiots. Are they in fact a 33rd level Freemason? They are. But they're not part of the backdoor deals that actually go on in Freemasonry. So those people that are going to be bloviating all over the place about their Masonry affiliation, where they've seen nothing untowards happening, they kind of act like a front to the Freemasons, the way that some of the actors that are not in the club act when there are stories that are breaking or coming out where there are these whispers of these dark and nefarious things that are going on. They're kind of like useful idiots. They're fronts, they're puppets. They're only being cast to play a role in a movie. They're not being cast to play a role on the world stage. So all they see and all they know is, I went for this audition, I got this role, I filmed this film, that was it, I went home. They may or may not know, or they may or may not be exposed to some of the other rumors or whispers of what is going on behind the veil. They are probably not even invited to like the parties where a lot of the nefarious things are happening. They're just useful idiots. So actors do in fact just go to audition. They're never brought into the fold. They're never asked to join the club because it's like they're just a front. They're just a cover. They're just an actor. Just the way that there's some 33rd level Freemasons, they're just Masons. They're just Masons. They're just actors. They're just people doing these mundane things and thinking there's nothing untowards that is actually happening. But here's the thing, just because I can talk, I promise. Too early for me. Just because these people have not seen anything happening does not mean that it does not happen. It just means that they haven't seen it. You know, how does the old adage go? If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it still make a sound? Yeah, there's just no one there to witness it. So are these untowards, for lack of a better word, untowards things happening? Yeah. These useful idiots are just not there to see it. But it doesn't mean it isn't happening. It just means they are not in the forest when the tree falls down. So it's the same thing with Hollywood, where people will swear up and down and inside out how up and up the industry is and how they have never had a bad experience on set, nor have they ever been exposed to a casting couch. Yet despite their claims that these things have never happened to them, or they have never seen these things, there are the stories of the Harvey Weinsteins. So can we then say that all of the women that came out during the Me Too movement and spoke up against Harvey Weinstein, can we just throw these people out and say that their claims of what they endured didn't happen because there's some people in the industry that say it didn't happen to them or say that they didn't know that it happened? No. It's the same thing here. Harvey Weinstein's victims will tell a far different story and a far different tale than the ones that have never been exposed to these things. But it doesn't mean these things didn't happen just because all of the people that are in the industry didn't experience it. And it has been told to me by Ashton Kutcher, the aforementioned Ashton Kutcher, that there are in fact outliers that make it in the industry without joining the club or maybe without even knowing about its existence. And according to Ashton Kutcher, the outliers, those that are not Nepo babies or those like Brad Pitt, for example, who join the Hollywood industry and do join the club, but not as a second generation or third generation actor, but as a first generation actor, they comprise 12% of the industry. So that means that close to 90% of the entire Hollywood industry are in fact in the club. Therefore, the entire industry is fake. Or 90% of the industry is fake, if we want to be like exact for the Agent Smiths. It's not just because the industry is fake, because they create fake movies, which are fake, no, the movies are not fake, they're real. But they make real movies, which are fake representations of events, not just because of the plastic surgery that the actors and actresses get and then do not admit to receiving, thus making their faces fake, but because everyone, or 90% to be more precise, of everyone we see cast in the films have been put there because of their club affiliation. And it is not just Hollywood, but it is music too. And as I have mentioned earlier, I have linked a bunch of videos down below and called out, if it's part of an AMA, specific segments that you yourself can go to if you want to come to hear other examples of celebrities whose energy that I have connected with and what they have shared to me about the industry. So yes, Hollywood nepotism is real, but it doesn't work the way we think nepotism works. It's not like, oh, your name is Emilio Estevez and you're Martin Sheen's son, so all right, let's cast you in some films. Let's see how they do. No. When you see a second or third generation actor in the industry, it's because they're in the club. And when you see people achieving massive levels of success where they're like an A-lister and they're the next best thing that has ever hit the red carpet, a la Brad Pitt, it's because those people are new to the club. They're just first generation members. They joined because the industry saw something in them that they wanted. And then what's their contribution? How do they have to pay to play? Usually by becoming Satanists. That's like the entry level. You want to be an actor in the industry and you are not affiliated with the club previously? Okay. How do you pay to play? You now worship Satan. Sounds far-fetched? Explain to me why Christian Bale at the Academy Awards, when he won one, got up on stage and said, "I'd like to thank Satan for this award." So they're told the preferred religion of Hollywood is Satanism. Okay. The higher up they get, the darker the asks. Spirit cooking. If you're a female performer in the music industry, spell casting, allowing yourself to be inhabited and taken over, both as a performer. Look at Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. Any celebrity that says they have an alter ego that they inhabit when they get on stage, they're outing themselves. They're telling you their alter ego is not just, when I want to be my most magnetic version of myself and I want to step out onto the stage, I'm embodying a different person. It's because they're literally inhabited by an entity that has a name, such as a Sasha Fierce. No one gets a free ride in the Hollywood industry. No one. You pay to play or you're inserted. Or you're a useful idiot that they keep around to act as a friend. So this concludes the video on Hollywood nepotism. I hope that you have enjoyed it, perhaps found it to be thought-provoking, and I encourage you to take what resonates and to leave the rest behind. And as always, and until next time, this is your reminder to stay in the high vibration.